Hello guys, so in this video we're gonna do a procedural spike fence for our level. So what we're gonna do is in this area I'm gonna delete this brush which is in the way. So in this to this door, to this opening of the area, we're gonna add a spike fence. So to do that, we're gonna create a procedural spike fence, which we can control its length inside the level design, so in real time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new folder in the content folder, a new folder, which I'm gonna name procedural spike fence. Now I'm gonna access this folder, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first of all import this FBX, this one, spike fence segment. This is a static mesh I did in 3ds Max. Link in the description to download this static mesh. So I'm gonna decrease this window size, select that FBX file, and import it in my project. We leave everything as default here and we click on import. Close the message log, and so this is the static mesh. So basically this is a spike fence segment. So in our actor we're gonna control the the number of instances of this static mesh, place it besides each other to compose the spike fence in real time. So I'm gonna create also an actor, a blueprint class of parent class actor, which I'm gonna call simply procedural spike fence. This is the actor, this is the blueprint, and I'm gonna open this blueprint and start working on it. First of all, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my static mesh. This is the first component of the spike fence, so the base component. I'm gonna add a static mesh component. As a static mesh, it's gonna be the static mesh we imported, this one. So it's got its pivot point placed in the proper location relative to its structure. So now we're gonna compile, and we're gonna add a variable which we're gonna call endpoint. So this is the handle for modifying the length of the spike fence. It's gonna be of type vector, and that should be it for the variables and the component of the blueprint. Next, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna work in the construction script. Of course, the construction script fires each time there is a modification to the blueprint, so including the modifications to its variables. So when we modify this variable, this event, this construction script is gonna fire. So, and this is gonna allow us to control the length of the spike fence in real time. What I'm gonna do first of all is I'm gonna drag this endpoint, keeping control pressed to have a getter to this variable. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the vector length in the XY plane. So vector length XY. Next, what I'm gonna do to this one, just to inform you, the width of the spike fence segment static mesh is equal to 122 units. So we're gonna divide this length by 122. And we enter a value of 122. Next, we're gonna floor the result in order to get the number of complete 122 segments composing the vector length xy. So floor, we're gonna use a floor to get the integer of the lowest integer of the returned result of this operation. Now we're gonna do a for loop. We're gonna do a for loop, a simple for loop. So this is gonna iterate through it's gonna iterate and each time create a new spike fence segment besides on the side of the last created segment to create the spike fence. So first index is gonna be 1 and last index is gonna be the returned result of the floor operation. This is the number of time we're gonna create a spike fence segment to put our spike fence together. So first of all, we should check to see if the vector length is superior to 0. So to check to see if the endpoint has been customized, has been set to get the length of the spike fence. I'm gonna add a branch here. If it is true, the endpoint has been moved to customize the spike fence length. We're gonna do the for loop. So in the loop body, we're gonna create a new static mesh component. So add static mesh component. As a static mesh, it's gonna be the spike fence segment, this one, and then we're gonna check manual attachment, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna parent it to the base static mesh of the blueprint. So attach component to component, as a parent is gonna be the base static mesh of the blueprint. Location rule, keep hold. Next, having attached this newly created spike fence segment to the base spike fence segment of the blueprint, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set its relative location, and it's gonna depend on its index in the loop, and of course the width of the spike fence segment 122. So we're gonna do index multiplied by 122. It's gonna get us the relative location of the newly created spike fence segment. So we're gonna make a vector here. And we're only interested in its y component, because each newly created spike fence will have a relative z equal to 0 and a relative x equal to 0 to be inside this straight line. What's gonna change is its relative y value. So we're only interested by the y value here. Back to the construction script, and we're gonna do set relative location. We're gonna plug in our newly created spike fans segment, this one. Add some reroute nodes for ease of readability. And then we're gonna plug in our new location. That's it, that should be it. As you can see. So that should be it. So for the construction script, we're gonna add a comment to this construction script. So get the x, y length of end point, then divided by the spike fans segment static mesh width, then place the spike fans segments accordingly. That should be it. So get the xy length of endpoint, then divide it by the spike fans segment static mesh width, then place the spike fans segment accordingly. Along the xy component. Of endpoint. That should be it for the comment. I'm gonna compile now. There is a problem, must have a connection, add static mesh component. Where is it? This one, of course. I should, of course, attach component to component, the newly created static mesh component, the newly created spike fans segment. Compile. And now what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna do some modification to the endpoint variable. We're gonna make it instance editable to be able to edit it for each instance of this blueprint inside the level. And we're gonna activate show 3D widget for it to be represented in the level by a 3D widget, a 3D gizmo. I'm gonna hit compile, save all. Now we should be able to place a procedural spike fans inside our level. So here you have the spike fans, you have your endpoint, and then you can control it. Just select your endpoint to control the length of the spike fans. Is it just to select it, this one, and we can control the length of the spike fans, increasing it or decreasing it. Now I'm gonna place these spike fans to its place inside near the door, in the door, sorry. Just do some eyeballing here to get it in the right position, like that, and just move it there. I'm gonna scale it in a second, but first of all I'm gonna roughly position it in its place, like that. Yes, should be okay. Now I'm gonna onto controlling its length to close the door of the area. Now we have a spike fans with a view on the outside. I'm gonna just drag it down a little bit for it to be planted in the floor, and I'm gonna scale it up, not like that. Just I'm gonna disable scale snapping and do the correct scaling. Should be okay, like that. And now we have a spike fence viewed from the inside. I'm gonna save all. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add to it a material, because now it's got no material. Just use the default world grid material of Unreal Engine. I'm gonna add a new material here in the same folder. I'm gonna call it M spike fence. That's it. M spike fence segment, just like the other one, the static mesh. This one I'm gonna rename it static mesh SM spike fence segment. Now I'm gonna access my material. I'm gonna do some parameters to allow for material instancing later on. Here I'm gonna add a vector parameter, vector S. I'm gonna call it color, simple. I'm gonna add a scalar parameter, pressing the letter S of the keyboard and clicking in the graph, and another one. The first one I'm gonna call it metallic level, and the metallic with double L, sorry. And the third one I'm gonna call it roughness level. That's it. So I'm gonna plug everything together. Color, the RGB is gonna go to base color, metallic to the metallic, and the roughness of course to the roughness. Color, we're gonna keep it at black as a default. Metallic level default value 0.75. It is painted in black, so it's not gonna look 100% metallic, but we're gonna make it fairly metallic looking, so 0.75. Roughness, we're gonna make it a little bit rough, not all the way rough 1, a little bit rough, 0.25. that should do the trick. That should be it. So we have our material viewed in the viewport, the material viewport. 0.25 roughness and color black, and we're gonna hit apply to compile the material and save it. We're gonna create a material instance out of this as a good practice. Create material instance, we keep it as it is for its name, and we're gonna go to the base static mesh for the spike fence segment. I'm gonna use that material instance as a material. We save our static mesh, and now we have a black spike fence metallic. I'm gonna approach it. So we have our spike fence separating us from the outside of the structure. I'm gonna decrease its size a little bit, its height a little bit. I think it's too much, so let's scale it down a little bit, because I'm gonna try it again. Okay, we're gonna keep it as it is, like that. So we have a spike fence now for our level. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.